Hello, it's Ranger Olivia here, and welcome to the Parkland's virtual classroom. So we all know that this is a plant, but how much do we really know about plants? There is more than meets the eye. Just like you and me, plants have complex structures that help them survive in their environment. Just like we have eyes to see and ears to hear, plants have different parts to them, and these parts all have specific jobs. Follow along with this video to find out more. This is a sycamore tree, and here at the Parklands, there are a lot of huge ones growing along the creek. One of the cool things about these trees is that they have massive root systems. As big as this tree is above ground, with its trunk and branches, it has the same mass below ground in its roots. This means that you're only seeing half this tree right now. The other half is underground. You might be asking, why does this tree need such a big root system? The answer has to do with the function of the roots. Roots usually grow underground and act as straws that suck up water and nutrients from the soil to be used by the plant. However, they also keep the tree anchored into the ground. So it is a good idea for a big tree like this to have strong roots, because it holds them in place and keeps them from getting knocked over. Take a look at these trees along the bank. These roots have been exposed over time by water washing away the soil. It is very important for these roots to spread out and grip to the ground, otherwise the water could wash the trees away in a big flood. Having roots like these are good for the bank as well. It will stabilize the bank by holding some of the soil in. This ensures that the water has a clear channel to go through and helps with flooding. Now let's talk about the trunk or stem of the plant. I want to introduce you to a special plant. This is a honey locust tree, and the first thing you might notice is the thorns on the bark. Trees have bark that acts as protection for the plant. Just as your skin develops a scab when you get a cut, this bark will heal itself and grow over a wound. Trees literally have thick skin, but the honey locust tree went a step further and developed spikes to protect itself. You may be asking yourself, what would be eating this huge tree? What does it need to protect itself from? To find out that answer, we must step back in time. Thousands of years ago, Kentucky and the animals that lived here looked a lot different. There were woolly mammoths, the size of elephants, and giant sloths roaming around. This tree and its seed pods became the favorite for the woolly mammoths to eat. So when they came across this tree, they would knock it down to get all the seed pods that would hang high up in the tree. After a while, the tree got sick of this and started developing these large spikes to prevent the mammoths from knocking them down. And here the spikes stay, even though the woolly mammoths are long gone. As with many cases in nature, the things we see today were shaped by animals that no longer exist. Trunks are not only for protection. Trunks and stems are also important for holding the plant upright and helping reach the sun, kind of like a backbone. Inside the stem, there is an intricate system of tiny tubes that act like a large highway. This big highway carries water, nutrients, and sugars to all the different parts of the plant. Now, let's talk about all the green stuff, the leaves. What do they do? The most important job of the leaf is to make food for the whole plant. Plants are what we call producers, which means they don't really eat anything like we do. Instead, they make their own food in a process called photosynthesis. Leaves are green because they have a pigment in them called chlorophyll. Chlorophyll is kind of like the plant's superpower because it can take the energy from the sun and make food. No other thing can really do this. It's a special power that only plants have. Leaves also have little pores called stomata that take in carbon dioxide from the air. The sun's energy, the carbon dioxide, and water that was brought in from the roots are all used to make sugar, sometimes called glucose. These sugars are used as the plant's food. After the plant makes its food, it gives off oxygen and water as a waste product. That means that plants also make the air you need to breathe. Without their special photosynthesis powers, we would not be alive. Still not convinced plants are the real superheroes? By now you should realize that plants are awesome and we always need more. But how do plants make more plants? They must produce a seed. A seed has everything a new plant needs to grow. It has a protective covering, cells that will turn into the plant, and even a little food storage for the baby plant until it can make its own. But a plant cannot produce a viable seed alone. First, it needs to be pollinated, which is where the flowers come in. Believe it or not, flowers are not made for you and me to admire. Although some may smell nice and be pretty, they are actually the reproductive part of the plant and are made to attract pollinators, not us. If the plant is successful at producing a flower to attract a pollinator, the pollinator will land on it and drink some nectar from the flower. While doing this, the pollinator will get some pollen stuck on it. Then it will go to another flower, get some pollen stuck on it again, and drop some pollen from before off. This new pollen will go to the female part of the plant inside the flower, and then a fruit will form. Do you see the orange sacs on the bee's hind legs? These are called pollen baskets, and they are specially made so that bees can collect and carry pollen back to their hives. Fruits are the structures that hold the seeds and usually serve as a vehicle for the seeds to move away from its parents. Every flower-producing plant will have a fruit, but it's important to note that not all fruits are edible. We think of fruits as apples and oranges, but fruits can look very different depending on the function they serve. Some fruits are light and fluffy, so they can fly away. Some are round, so they might roll away. Some are wound up, like this jewelweed, so they can explode out. Some are sticky or might have tiny hooks on the end so that they can catch a ride. And others might look tasty, so they can be eaten, digested, and, you may have already guessed it, pooped out. It's okay to say it if it's science. So there you have it. By going over all the parts of the plant and their functions, we've made the secret life of plants not so secret. I hope you enjoyed this video and that the next time you see a plant, you appreciate how complex and necessary its life is. Thanks for watching.